up in Europe, and it was up in the States. Yep, well over 100 points, 180. Boop, closed down, over 100. NASDAQ down, gold down, Bitcoin down a little bit, over that 9,000 mark. As you know, we keep saying got to break over 11,000, but still 9,000 is not bad. And oil prices are up. Dow closes down more than 100 points lower, but ekes out small gains for April. And basically, the global economy is downshifting. You heard from Kuroda, the Bank of Japan governor, saying they're going to keep interest rates in negative territory. We heard it from Draghi, they're keeping interest rates in negative territory. Bond buying schemes continue. The data coming out, not a lot of growth. So, of the S&P 500 companies that have reported through Monday morning, 79.3% have reported stronger than forecast earnings. And the U.S. Treasury yield, remember it was over 3? Boop, it's down now to 2.5. So what we have here is more stock buybacks. Apple just announced a whole nother round after the whole other round. And the tax breaks, earnings are good. The market's where it's at. Again, the Trump rally is over. You'll see some other rises. A lot of volatility. Again, it continues. But the big news is today about Iran and what's going on in Israel and just over the past week. Everything that we have been forecasting about this is coming to pass. So we're suggesting to you, be prepared. Prepare for the worst. If the worst doesn't happen and you're prepared for it, you lose nothing. If the worst happens and you're not prepared, you could lose everything. And we'll get on to that. So gold prices went down today because the dollar got stronger. And again, we're looking at the weakness of the euro. Again, coming out with the data they're showing, not raising interest rates until sometime in 2019 and keeping this 30 billion euro bond buying scheme going. And again, with the yen, we're seeing what's going on, more cheap money. So gold is going down as the dollar gets stronger. However, we would say that gold would be the ultimate safe haven should the trends continue with Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States pushing war toward Iran. And again, we do not give financial advice. U.S. stock funds are losing investors. Woo! What does it say over here? Wall Street Journal. Some say investors may be overreacting to headlines, ignoring the health of the U.S. economy. May be overreacting to headlines. We say that all the time. And that's all they do. They come out with headlines. The reason they're giving for gold prices going down and oil prices going down is the agreement of a peace treaty between South Korea and North Korea. And that's the reason they're giving for gold and gold prices going down. It has nothing to do with that at all, as we see it. But they need a reason a day. So, growth signs lift the dollar. And here we have it. Economists, meanwhile, are turning more skeptical that Europe can keep growing at last year's pace. Recent data, like German manufacturing and weaker Eurozone inflation, have signaled a slowdown. Moreover, most analysts also believe the dollar's bullish and bearish cycles tend to last between 5 and 7 years on average. That would mean the U.S. currency is in the early stages of an extended period of decline after the bull market that began in 2011 and peaked in early 2017. So, if the dollar is at the end of this rally, the dollar gets weaker, gold gets stronger. The reason we don't see the dollar getting weaker is because all the other currencies are weak. However, having said that, anything could go here. And there's no more wilder card than the Trump card. ECB seeks clarity on growth before move. Again, They're saying a raft of recent economic data from industrial production and retail sales suggests the Eurozone economy slowed in the first quarter of 2018 after outpacing the U.S. economy last year. That's why we see the dollar getting stronger. Again, Iran just announced they're not going to deal with dollars anymore at all, but that's no big deal. And China with the petrodollar, that is a big deal, but not at this level. It's in the early stages of it, so we still see the dollar remaining stronger than the rest. And again, we could have all weakness. Japan drops deadline for inflation target. The Bank of Japan has abandoned its pledge to hit its 2% inflation target around fiscal 2019. At the start of the stimulus in 2013, Mr. Kuroda, the governor of the Board of Governors of the Bank of Japan, promised to hit 2% inflation in about 2 years, but he's been forced to postpone the time frame 6 times since then. Those repeated changes have undermined Mr. Kuroda's credibility. They undermined it so much that they just reelected him. Again, one loser after another running a country, a central bank, a village, a town, and a state near you. They keep staying in power. And what else do we have here? Oil prices. Oh, yeah, oil prices have surged 65% since June last year. And should the Iranian conflict continue the way it's going, we're going to see oil prices well above $100 a barrel. And remember, just before the markets crashed in 2008, oil hit $150 a barrel. Now let's put the trend together. Hey, all those American manufacturers that are getting rid of manufacturing cars and going more to big SUVs and trucks, small trucks, yeah. What's going to happen when oil prices get higher? Is it going to cost you more money to fuel them up? Of course it is. But we won't talk about that because we'll only think short term and keep making those big cars. And what else do we have? Oh, this story over here in the States. Isolated office hid VA pick from scrutiny. To senior White House aides serving last 3 presidents, Dr. Ronnie L. Jackson was the war-tested doctor who served in Iraq, helped cope with their high-pressure jobs, and ran his medical staff with the rigor benefiting his rank of Rear Admiral of the Navy. But inside the White House medical unit, military-run office with a few dozen doctors and nurses, Dr. Jackson was viewed as a bully and someone who kept sloppy medical records, drank too much, and loosely dispensed strong drugs. Well, he sounds perfect for the job. Why'd they get rid of him? And this is this guy, this is the doctor, right? This is the doctor running the show. And again, that stuff, you know, it's a drug-addicted society. Dr. Jackson was sometimes intoxicated during overseas trips, and staff members were often ordered to leave a bottle of rum and Diet Coke in his hotel room. What Katsune, as a grown person, would be drinking rum and Diet Coke? Rum and Coca-Cola. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's a young guy, all right, Diet Coke. Senate confirms Pompeo. That's right, the CIA director. Big one. New Secretary of State, wasting no time, warns Europe about Iran pact. Yep. The United States has made abundantly clear that NATO should not return to business as usual with Russia, he also said, until Moscow shows a clear change in its actions and complies with international law. Yeah, just like Israel's complying with international law. Oh, what's it up to now? About 6,000 wounded. Ooh, another good weekend. Only 3 dead. How about that international law? No, we won't talk about that. They don't even call it occupied territory anymore. No, they don't even call it settlements anymore. Remember, Chucky Schumer said, you got to believe in the Torah because in the Torah it says, God gave us this land, and you know what that is.
Come on now, that ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
You got it, man. You got yours, I got my Bible. Don't tell me I got to believe in that. But the hypocrisy here. This guy is selling war. One after another. Pompeo lands in Saudi Arabia, immediately calls for sanctions against Iran. Israeli war with Iran increasingly likely. Defense Secretary James Mad Dog Mattis has declared. Pompeo says Trump unlikely to stay in Iran deal. And then today the big news is Netanyahu came out and says we got secret information that Iran is violating the nuclear deal. And when Pompeo went to Saudi Arabia, here's the news from the Saudis. Saudi Arabia, U.S. shares identical views on regional issues. Of course they do. Bombing innocent people to death over there in Yemen. It's the American way. We did it in Iraq. We did it in Afghanistan. Still doing it. Love Libya. Yep. During the meeting, the pair reviewed bilateral relations. This is the foreign minister in Pompeo. They discussed the challenges in the region, including the situation in Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, as well as Iran's negative interventions in the region. Oh no, the Saudis' interventions, they is positive. And the American interventions, they're just great. All this is about getting rid of Iran and Russia out of the Middle East so the Saudis, the Americans, and the Israelis could overtake the joint. End of story. And what did Pompeo say over here? He goes, he thanks King Salman and the Crown Prince for their generous hospitality, saying, quote, I've had the opportunity to work closely with Saudi Arabian leaders for years, Pompeo said, and I look forward to constructive work as the United States Secretary of State. Saudi Arabia's security is a priority for the United States. Did you know that? That's our priority, to keep the Saudi gang in control. I'm not making this up, man. These are his words. Yep. That, of course, starts with Iran. Iran destabilizes the entire region. This is Pompeo. The United States has destabilized the entire region. Where are the prostitutes calling these people out? I'll tell you where they're calling them out. They're calling them out nowhere, because they're cowards. It supports proxy militias and terrorist groups like the Saudis and the United States. It arms dealers in the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Oh yeah, but it's okay for Saudi Arabia to invade Yemen. And the Houthis have only been there for 1,000 years. And Iran conducts cyber hacking campaigns. And it supports the murderous Assad regime as well, as the United States, of course, supports the Saudi murderous regime. And how about that Israeli murderous regime? And how about the United States murderous regime? When are people going to say, stop? We have a new cast of crazy people, Bolton, Pompeo, Trump, and all the rest that are leading us to war. Netanyahu, the clown prince. Pompeo also said, unlike prior administrations, we will not neglect the vast scope of Iran's terrorism. Iran's terrorism. You can see where this is going. Where it's going? Here's where it's going. Syrian army positions come under missile attacks in Hama and Aleppo. Syrian army, enemy rocket attack strikes 2 military bases. Dozens of Iranians, dozens of civilians, and dozens of Syrian soldiers have just been bombed last night. But that doesn't make the American news. War is on the horizon. Again, you do what you want, do nothing, or occupy peace. Because if we don't stop this, this could be the war that ends all wars. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of